Ooh, we got some good stories today. Sit back, grab a snack, and let's get weird. Woo! Warnings from beyond the grave. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I absolutely love your videos. This happened when I was around 4 years old. I was asleep in bed and felt someone sitting on my bed and rubbing my leg. We're getting right into this. I woke up and looked and saw this older woman. An overwhelming sense of calm came over me as she kept repeating, "Everything is going to be okay," as she was smiling at me and then disappeared. As soon as she disappeared, I started screaming and my mom and dad rushed in. I told them everything that had happened and my dad turned white as a ghost. I described exactly what this woman looked like, sounded like, and even what she was wearing. My dad turned around and said that was his mother who died long before he even met my mom. And I had described exactly what he had buried her in. Oh my God. I have never seen a single picture of this woman in my life. Less than a year later, my dad passed away. I like to think that she was warning me. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry for your loss. Fast forward till I was 19-ish and I had a dream that I was on a bus and the seats were facing each other with a table between them like on a train. I sat down at an empty table and this elderly couple sits in front of me and we start talking. Then the woman starts talking about my nan. I was extremely close with my nan. She lived with us and we talked about everything together. She was my best friend. I even sleep on the couch most nights so she didn't have to sleep in the room alone, which is what I was doing this night. Anyway, this woman started saying that I needed to tell my nan that she was so sorry and that she hoped she would forgive her before they meet again. I thought this was really strange. When I woke up, I did my normal routine where I made my nan a cup of tea so we could have our morning chat. I remembered the dream and told her about it and described the couple, and she said that it was her mother. Again, I had never seen a picture of this woman in my life, and my nan said that her mother wasn't a very nice woman, which I knew from stories already. Unfortunately, my nan passed 6 months later. I'm starting to think every time someone close to me passes, a spirit contacts me first. Thanks for reading. Love your videos. Did your grandma ever forgive her mother though? Thank you so much for sharing. Shadow man that's followed me for years and weird blue lights. Interesting. First of all, hi Auntie Matrix. Hi. I'm a big fan of the stories that you tell. My story is kind of long but quite strange, but it would be great to get it off my chest. Since I was 14, I'm 33, I've had very lucid, terrible night terrors. The first happened when I was asleep in bed at 14 and felt unbelievable amount of pressure on my chest. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, but I felt the urgency that I needed to wake up and get to my mom, who's asleep in her room. I didn't know what sleep paralysis was at the time. I was going to say this is sleep paralysis. I felt drugged and like I was going to die if I did not get up. After several attempts, I wake up. Then I'm in the same situation. I can't move, but I'm awake. I start screaming out silence for my mom with no avail. And then I wake up again to the same situation. Again and again and again. I can't remember how many times this happened until I was actually awake when I jolted up and was covered in sweat. I chalked it up to some bad dream. I hate when you get stuck in a loop like that. It's terrifying. Fast forward to college years, another town. I was roommates with my childhood best friend and started having similar dreams. A more prominent one I can remember. I was asleep and aware of being asleep. I saw a bluish light peeking through my window, which was to the right of me on the same wall as my bed was. We also lived on the second floor. I could feel that it wanted me. It wanted you. With the sudden feeling of enormous pressure on my body and feeling of being drugged, I tried to crawl to my door to get to my best friend's room. Laying on the floor, a sound became so high-pitched, I began to scream. Feeling like I was being pulled, I looked up at my door, which was now open, and a shadow figure of a man was standing there. Next thing I know, I'm awake. If you were being pulled, was this like an alien abduction situation? And when you woke up, did you wake up on the floor, like in the middle of crawling, or did you wake up back in your bed? Because I feel like if you woke up back in your bed, alien abduction. If you woke up in the middle of the floor and still in like crawling mode, maybe you were having like some weird sleep paralysis and there was a shadow person and then you woke up. Then what was that high-pitched noise? Fast forward to me about 21 years old now. I'm living with my boyfriend in another town. My boyfriend knows I have night terrors and who occasionally has to wake me up, to even sometimes me not knowing I had a night terror until the next day he would tell me. Now, I don't know if this has any effect on it, but the house that we lived in at the time, the guy we rented it from, his dad had died in the basement. Of course, it probably has an effect on it. And there were a lot of things old still in there. It was always creepy there, and you could just feel the strange energy in the house sometimes. And this is also when my dreams picked up heavily. 2 dreams in particular are still seared into my brain. I know I dreamt a lot of this shadow figure many times, but I've only really remembered a few. First one was, of course, asleep, unable to move, speak, the whole shebang. I'm laying flat on my back, and all I can do is watch this floating shadow moving along the outline of my bed. Back and forth. I can only move my eyes, and I just watch him watch me, like he was observing me, just staring at me as he floats above my bed. Second one, this one sucked. Once again, I'm in bed asleep, but it's early morning and I'm home alone. And this time, I felt that he was coming for me before he was there. Somehow I'm able to see through a POV style like fish lens, and I look all the way to my front door closed and knew he was there. So then I'm suddenly back in my room with my bedroom door slightly open. I'm feeling heavily drugged, and I manage with all my strength to get up. I grabbed a baseball bat and stand on the side of my door knowing he's on the other side. I'm going to open the door and start swinging. I have had enough. Soon as I open the door, I see him. I completely lost any control I had of myself. He was all black with a smoky outline and had these intense, bright blue eyes piercing at me. I couldn't move. My body started to rise in the air and I dropped the bat. I felt like I was choking, and then I wake up. Again, did you wake up in your bed or standing at the door? I'm feeling more and more like this is some sort of alien thing. Fast forward, married and have a daughter. I started to write a dream journal to help with the dreams, or at least have any control in some. One of the last ones I can remember. I fell asleep. I wake up in a black void. Nothing around me. I turn and see a door, but the outline of the door, bright blue light was shining through the door frame. Something was speaking to me like in my mind, but not just words, just a feeling of I knew what they were saying. Whatever it was saying to open the door. It's time for you to open the door. Not knowing what's behind the door, I obviously did not open it, and then somehow woke up. Oh my God! I'm glad for you that you didn't open the door, but I wanted you to open the door. What was behind the door? Fast forward to when I'm like 29. I was pretty sick and was in the hospital for 8 days. On one of those days, I was doing pretty well, wasn't on any heavy medications or anything weird, and had an IV attached in my hand. Wasn't hooked up though. The nurse had to take it out and replace it. She said she'd be right back. Right after she left the room, I suddenly felt like I was going to pass out. I reached for my emergency button on the bed mere inches from me and passed out before I could press it. I wake up in a white void. Absolutely nothing around me, and felt the sense of doom or just something pulling me somewhere or pushing me somewhere. I start to hear someone say my name, but this voice felt somewhat calming. I didn't see anyone, but then I see a door, a blue door. Panic really sets in, and wherever I thought this voice was calling me from, I ran towards it. Then I see a rope above me kind of rappel down. I grab the rope and I wake up. I wake up still sitting upright in bed to the nurse who was changing my IV and another nurse and a doctor. They called a rapid response. I told the nurse I started to pass out right after you left. I must have been woozy or something, and the nurse then tells me that I didn't pass out. She said I was awake with my eyes wide open, staring into space, and that she was the one calling my name. And I was replying back to her, "What?" a few times. She said I sounded irritated. She couldn't get me to respond or anything else other than that. She had to call the doctor and charge nurse to come in and to help. They thought that maybe I was having a seizure, but I wasn't, and I've never had them before. But it somehow was like I was conscious and unconscious at the same time. I told them what I remember happening, passing out and being in like a white void and hearing my name, but I don't remember what they told me I said and did because I wasn't technically unconscious either. And that's really the end of them so far. I haven't had any other dreams of the Shadow Man or Blue Lightning interacting in the same way, which I'm very thankful for. I still have night terrors here and there though, but I don't remember them the following morning. I'm not honestly sure what to think right here. The first two, I was kind of leaning towards like alien abduction. The last one, you were in the hospital. I don't know what's going on with that. First, I thought that the person that was like calling you to grab the rope and to like leave was maybe someone like a good spirit, like a spirit guide or someone that was trying to save you from whatever was trying to make you go through this blue door. And what is behind this door? I am honestly not sure here. What do you guys think? I need to know your opinions in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is literally called Glitch, Glitch, Glitch. Auntie Matrix, how are you? Hi, I'm good. So I've been following you for a few months, and although I've had paranormal stuff happen to me from about age 8 and up, I can't really recall anything to be a glitch until a couple of weeks ago. So it's morning, rush hour traffic, and I'm on the freeway. Now my car has something weird going on with it, so I have to literally pull off to the side of the freeway to do a scan, erase trouble codes using a scanner/coder reader. It doesn't take long, and when it happens, this corrects it, and I'm good to go. So I was meeting an old friend at his doctor's appointment because I really needed to talk to him. His appointment is at 6:30 a.m., so I'm driving there. That's a really early appointment. So I'm driving. There's a split. 2 lanes go to the right, which would be 70 east, and 3 or 4 to the left, which is 670. So I go past the split in the far left lane, 670. Realize my exit is coming up and I need to make my way over to the very right lane. Then my car starts losing acceleration. Lots of traffic. I put my signal on and I start moving right to make my way now to the berm. I don't know what the berm is. I'm assuming that is the shoulder. There's quite a bit of traffic, but I managed to pull onto the berm. Right before this happened, I looked at my clock and it was 6:27. So I pulled to the berm, grabbed my scanner, and tried to plug it in. It's always a bit of a challenge to get it plugged in because it's down kind of under the steering wheel in that location. I keep trying, but it will not plug in. I get frustrated and I say, forget it. I start my car back up and it's running normal, which usually doesn't happen unless the codes are erased. So I'm like, all right, let's just go with it. Now, mind you, it's been at least 5 to 7 minutes. So as I'm pulling off, I look at the clock and it still says 6:27. I'm like, wait, what? But I proceed to drive into the first lane closest to me. As I drive into that lane, my exit should have been about a half a mile away on my right, but the freeway just doesn't look right. So when I look at the signs, I realize I'm actually pulling from the right berm that is before the freeway split. So I now have to make my way back over again to the left lanes to go 670 when I know without a doubt I should already be in the lane I need to be in to get ready to exit the freeway for my destination. So when I finally see my friend, the first thing I say is, oh my God, I think I just died in a car accident or something and it wasn't my time. So it took me back like 5, 6 or 7 minutes so that it didn't happen. He just said, are you serious? Probably like, she's crazy, LMAO. I explained the glitch in the Matrix, yada, 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 but it was a feeling that I just can't shake, and I know that something happened. I don't know, but I believe that an accident occurred and it just wasn't my time. Or perhaps one would have occurred had I continued driving at that time without pulling over. But what do you think? Okay, so I don't think that it was that you would have died because it took you back to like the same place right before at the same time, which means you're going to do the same thing again, right? And you didn't mention that you did something different this time. You also didn't mention that you did experience an accident and then was pulled back in time. So I don't really think that you died. It sounds like there was just like a weird glitch in the Matrix, or you went through a portal, or you had like a weird time loop, or maybe you were even abducted. No, but normally with abductions, there's like big time loss, right? And you didn't lose time. You kind of went back in time, but maybe you were abducted and then they put you back in time. I'm not positive, but something weird definitely absolutely happened. Please let me know what you guys think happened in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called The Disappearing Necklace and the Girl in the Window. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. Oh, okay. These are actually 2 separate stories. The first one is The Disappearing Necklace. My nan has a necklace that is very special to her as it belonged to her late mother. She'd wear it every single day and only took it off to shower. One day she took it off to shower and was sure that she'd left it on the sink, but when she came out of the shower, it was gone. She searched all over and called my mom up, so upset that she couldn't find it. The next time we went around, me and my mom looked everywhere, but we still couldn't find it. My nan thought that it must have slipped down the plug hole, which made no sense to me, as the pendant it was on wouldn't fit down the plug hole. Weeks went by with no necklace, and my nan was still, understandably, so upset about it. One evening, she sat at the edge of her bed and said, "Mom, I'm so sorry I've lost your necklace. Please help me find it." She got into bed, got comfy, and felt something in bed next to her. She panicked, started to think that it was a spider. My nan is terrified of spiders. Okay, I thought you meant like a spirit or something was like sitting on the bed, but it was a spider, which is actually might be worse. I think I might rather have a spirit than a spider in my bed. I don't know about you guys, but she plucked up the courage to pull the covers back and look. Just laying there, right next to her in bed, was the necklace. Bearing in mind it had been weeks, she'd changed her sheets multiple times and makes the bed every single day. It just appeared out of nowhere. She said she cried happy tears and now she never takes that necklace off. Oh my God, I love that story. That has totally happened to me too, asking past loved ones to help you find things, and it works. I love that she brought the necklace back for her. That's so awesome. Next one is The Girl in the Window. I have never really been a believer in the paranormal or much of a spiritual person, but after this happened, it massively opened my eyes. Some years ago, my dad and stepmom ran a pub. It was a very old building with a flat above it. The flat didn't have anyone living in it at the time, so my stepmom used it if she needed a break or to shower after working, etc. One day she took me up there and I felt so strange. Walking up the stairs, I suddenly felt very cold and just had a really odd feeling come over me. As we went into the flat, this feeling got so strong I couldn't go in and I just left. My stepmom asked what was wrong, and I said I just felt so strange I could not go in. The door to the flat was always locked, so people couldn't accidentally go up there, mistaking it for the toilets or something. A few weeks later, my dad came up to the pub. I saw him get out of his car, stare up to the flat, and then he ran inside straight to the door to the flat. The door was locked, so he ran to my stepmom, all panicked, saying, "Where are the keys? Where are the keys?" My stepmom handed him the keys and said, "What's the matter?" My dad, too panicked to stop and talk, took the keys and ran up to the flat. We could hear his footsteps running all through the flat, and then he said, "Is someone here? Where are you?" After hearing this, me and my stepmom looked at each other and ran to my dad. We met him as he was coming back down the stairs. Thank goodness, because I did not want to go back into that flat. He said he saw a little girl in the window, but this window was so high up she would have had to climb to get up there and could have hurt herself, but there was nobody there. And as I said, the door was locked, so nobody could get in. My stepmom said barely anyone had come in yet, and the only people who had come in were regulars who did not have a little girl. One of the regulars overheard what was going on and went on to tell us that years and years ago, there had been 2 deaths in that flat. An old lady who fell down the stairs and a young girl who died of unknown causes. I'm not sure if it was unknown as in the postmortem or unknown as in the regular didn't know. Safe to say, I never went in that flat again. Well, you never went in it to begin with. You wouldn't go in there, and I don't blame you. You must be very sensitive to spirit. Oh my God, that's so crazy that he saw. I knew when he saw someone up there, I was like, nobody's up there. Nobody's going to be up there. I can't believe that your mom could just shower up there and it didn't bother her at all. Good stories. Thank you so much for sharing. How I met my boyfriend. It's 2019. I had just gotten out of a 7-year bad abusive relationship. In the beginning of 2019, I started having a recurring dream about a baby. I'm one of those dreamers who can vividly remember what happened in their dreams after they have woken up. Each time I've had the dream about the baby, it becomes vividly more evident that the baby is a boy. And it got to the point that my family was making fun of me having a baby, knowing damn well that I only do girls at this point. I had broken up with my abusive ex in March of 2019. On Easter of 2019, which was in April, was the last time I had the dream. In the dream, I finally got to see the face of the baby, and it was Asian. Like I mentioned before, I vividly remember dreams, and I have a dream journal. Almost all of my dreams are coming true, and they're all premonitions. So you didn't mention that in the beginning. Once the repeating dreams started happening, I learned that dreaming about a baby is a sign of meeting your true love. I didn't know that. So when I saw the face of an Asian baby, I was confused. I do normally date out of my race, but that's usually a super mixed person, usually Black or Hispanic. Nothing wrong with Asians. There was just not a lot around me particularly. And because of that, I have never dated one. Again, we're still talking about Easter of 2019. I was at my friend's house and I was really depressed about ending a 7-year relationship, even though it was bad. My friend had convinced me to make a POF account. Oh, Plenty of Fish. I was like, what is POF? Plenty of Fish is a dating app if you don't know. I agreed to do this only to keep the account for 24 hours. I had literally made the account and set my phone down to go to the bathroom. When I came back, someone had liked and messaged me. I looked at their phone and think they're cute and that we can get along, so I like them back. I messaged him back. Fast forward to 2023, we have been dating ever since that day. Yes, he is Asian, Cambodian to be exact. The creepy part is not the dream and how it stopped when we met. Oh my God, it stopped when you met? The paranormal part is on my end, it showed that he swiped and liked me first and messaged me first. On his end, it said that I swiped first and I messaged him first. So not only did I have a premonition of meeting him that stopped that day, I met him, but also the paranormal made it so we actually did meet. Not one of your normal stories. I thought you would enjoy reading this. I loved reading this. This was so cool. The fact that whatever intervened so that it looked like you both started the conversation because they were like, these two people are getting together and you've been together ever since. I love this story. Thank you so much for sharing. This one is just called Extremely Long. Hey, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I am so excited to finally feel brave enough to share my story with you. Let me just say I watch, more like stalk your page every day to see if there are any new stories posted and get so anxious when there aren't new ones. LOL. Anyways, let's get into it. It's pretty long and I apologize in advance if the story seems like it's all over the place. We love long stories. I live in a small town in what people consider upstate New York, but I'm only about 40 minutes from New York City. I'm not really sure how that ties into the story, but I figured I'd share that anyway. I've lived in the same apartment for about 14 years now. Back when my oldest son, who is now 11, was about 3 years old, and my middle son, who is now 9, was 1 year old, I would notice my oldest son had an imaginary friend who was named Chica. Weird name, I know. That is a weird name. Anyway, he would play and talk to Chica all the time. I never thought anything of it because all children have imaginary friends. One day, my 1-year-old was down for a nap in the living room and my 3-year-old was on the floor playing with some toys. I decided to get up and wash some dishes that were left in the sink. I'm washing dishes and I hear my 3-year-old start talking and laughing loudly for a while, so I decided to sneak up to the doorway to listen to what my son was saying. As I'm walking to the doorway of the living room, I hear my son having such an in-depth conversation and laughing in a weird way, but I couldn't really make out what was being said. All of a sudden, he just stops laughing and it gets really quiet. Almost too quiet, and it was actually creepy. I come into the living room and say, "Christian, why did you stop talking?" He looked at me and says, "Because, Mommy, Chica said you were watching." Oh my God. My entire body had goosebumps, but I shook it off because I refused to believe this imaginary friend was real. Fast forward a few years later, Chris was about 6 and Caden was about 4. One night we were sleeping. It was about 2 to 3 in the morning, and although the boys had their own rooms, they both insisted on sleeping in bed with me. That night, I had a really bad dream about my older son. In the dream, the boys were sleeping in bed with me. I woke up and my older son was laughing and saying, "You're all gonna die. You're all gonna die." Oh my God, that's terrifying coming from a child. I was calling out for him, but the voice that came out of my son's mouth was not my son, and he tried to choke me. I woke up in real life screaming and sweating because I thought it was real. I see my son in real time sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at me. I jumped up and said, "Chris, what are you doing?" And he said, "Chica said you were having a bad dream and would be up soon." Oh my God, so many chills. My heart started pounding because I didn't know if everything I just dreamt was real or not. Then he said, "Chica says I can go to sleep now," lays down and falls right to sleep. Friends, what is happening? Nope. I couldn't go back to sleep at all. Yeah. And I had to use the bathroom badly, but I had this weird feeling like I shouldn't get out of bed. I waited a little longer, but I couldn't hold it anymore. Before getting up to finally use the bathroom, I looked over at the boys and they were both sound asleep. I get to the door and I tried to pull the door open, but I couldn't. I thought maybe I had locked the door, but when I felt the doorknob, the door wasn't locked. I tried pulling the door again and it felt like someone was holding the knob from the other side of the door and wouldn't let go. There was no one else in the house, only my kids and I, being that their dad and I were no longer together and he moved out. I finally get the door open and I heard footsteps running down the hallway into my bathroom. At this point, I was frozen in fear, thinking, oh no, someone is in the house. What am I going to do? From my bedroom, I could see the long hallway directly into the bathroom. I heard what sounded like the shampoo bottles and soap dishes being thrown around. It was loud. The bathroom light started flickering on and off, and I saw a figure in the doorway looking back at me. It was extremely tall, almost as tall as a door frame, and looked like a ghost in movies that have a white sheet over their bodies and 2 circles for the eyes. What? I'm so scared and confused at the same time. It stared at me for what seemed like an eternity, but it was just a few minutes. I get the courage to run to the bathroom to see what was going on, and to my surprise, nothing had fallen. Everything was in the exact same spot, and the figure I saw was not there. I was terrified and couldn't comprehend what just happened. I knew I was not going crazy. Everything I saw and heard really just happened. It was late, and I knew if I was going to call someone and explain what just happened, they would not believe me anyway, so I used the bathroom as fast as I could and ran back to my room, made sure I locked the door this time, and tried to go back to sleep. The next few days were a blur. I just did not feel like myself. I couldn't stop thinking about what occurred the other night in my bathroom. For the next couple of years, on and off, little things kept occurring. I would hear footsteps in my hallway, whispers, and the kids were just always on edge and scared. I got to the point where I had asked the pastor of my church to come and bless my apartment. After the blessings, things seemed fine. Fast forward to now. I met my current boyfriend and we welcomed my 3rd baby boy this past August. My boyfriend moved in and things were going great. One night we were up late just talking about our past and things of that nature. Somehow we started talking about the paranormal and I brought up all the experiences that had happened in this apartment. Of course, like everybody else, he did not believe me and just brushed everything off. We stayed up for a few more hours and around 4 in the morning, I was tired and decided I was going to sleep. He said he wanted to stay up and watch a movie, so I said goodnight and rolled over and went to sleep. A couple of days later, we were up again watching a movie and he said, "Babe, I need to tell you something." I don't know how, but immediately I knew it was something that had to do with the apartment. He said, "Remember the other day when we were up talking about ghosts and stuff? Well, when you went to sleep, I went to the bathroom and as I was walking down the hallway, I saw something run past the door frame. I didn't think anything of it because, come on, who really believes in ghosts? But as I got to the bathroom, there was a full figure standing in the doorway and I cannot lie, I actually got pretty scared. I flicked the light on as fast as I could and nothing was there. It scared me, but I didn't want to say anything to you because I didn't want to scare you or the kids. The next couple of days, his energy was just weird. He was very quiet, and when he did talk, he seemed like he was really irritated and everything I was saying was annoying him. We ended up getting into a huge argument. It was really bad. He told me he was moving out because he couldn't stand the energy that was in the apartment. He begged me to come with him back to the Bronx where he's from, but being that my older boys are in school, I couldn't just pick up and leave. We are still together, but he no longer lives here. He says he will never move back in, and as soon as my lease is up in August, that the boys and I are getting out of this apartment. He comes over all the time, but has a really hard time if he chooses to spend the night. It really bothers me, but I do notice a switch of energy when he does attempt to sleep over. Do you mean the switch of energy in him or the switch of energy in the house? I wonder if what's in the house doesn't like him coming in there. A couple of nights ago, I had just tucked the boys into bed around 8:30 because it was a school night. I went to my room and was trying to put the baby to sleep. An hour or so had passed and all of a sudden, my middle son, Caden, started screaming, "Mommy!" I get up and I run down the hallway to his room to see him under the blanket. I ask, "Hey, what are you doing? What's wrong? I thought you were sleeping." And he says, "Mommy, please, can I sleep with you? There was someone watching me in the corner." I got scared, but pretended that I wasn't because I didn't want to make him more scared than he already was. Both of my kids have LED lights in their room, and I tried to convince him it was just a flashing of the lights when they changed colors, but he insisted that he saw something. I knew he wasn't lying because of how scared he was. My middle son is the tough one and never has a problem sleeping in his room. I told him he can sleep with his brother and he jumped out of bed so fast. I get him comfortable in his brother's bed and he falls asleep. I went back in his room to turn his LED lights off and to turn off the ceiling fan, and it felt really weird in there and I felt like I was being watched too. I went back into my room to check on the baby and he was fast asleep in his crib. I stayed up as long as I could until exhaustion just took over. In the morning, as I was getting the boys up for school, my older son comes out to me and says, "Mommy, who the heck is Chica?" My eyes widened and my heart started racing because now my son is 11 years old. He no longer remembers his imaginary friend that he used to have. So hearing him say the name really frightened me. I tried to play it off and say, "I don't know, maybe someone from a show that you watched." He looked at me and said, "Last night wasn't a show, Mom. It was real. I know that's why Caden came into my bed last night to sleep with me. Chica said it was not her and she stayed with Jordan, the little baby, while you were bringing Caden into my room. Why do you think he fell asleep so fast? She was protecting him." At this point, I changed the subject immediately because I could not stand to talk about it any longer. I was beyond scared and just wanted all of this to go away, so we just don't talk about it anymore. Every once in a while, I will hear a whisper and one of my boys will get scared, but nothing major has really happened and I'm hoping it stays that way. I sage my house every now and again just to keep the energy where it is at. I don't know exactly if Chica was a protector or something else. All I know is that I would never ever forget the experience that I've had in this apartment, and I cannot wait for my lease to be up. I'm not really afraid anymore. I just tried to keep positive vibes and energy in the house at all times. The boys are doing okay. I noticed that just ignoring things has helped. Still, I cannot wait to move. Thank you so much for reading my story. It was super long, but I'm glad you have a platform that allows me to feel comfortable enough to share. Love you, Auntie Matrix. Until next time, thank you so much for sharing that story. That was an amazing story. Okay, it does sound like Chica is a protector. Was that Chica that you saw who was messing with your bathroom stuff? And why did what you saw look like a movie ghost, like a sheet with the holes in the eyes? That reminds me of Beetlejuice when they're trying to scare the people out of the house and they put the sheets on. That's really weird. Was that Chica just messing around, or was that another spirit in the house that Chica was protecting from? And Chica seems to be protecting the kids, which is interesting. I wonder if Chica is a kid. Ignoring stuff, good. Maybe get the pastor to come back over and bless it again. Definitely move out. This whole story was so crazy. It's so good. Thank you so much for sharing. This one is called Demon in My Basement and there's pictures. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I love all the stories you post, and I have a long one for you. Back in October of 2019, we started renting a house and nothing strange happened. Everything was normal, but this house was 120 years old, built in 1903. In January of 2020, we started hearing weird noises, like talking, coming from our basement, which was always a man and a young girl's voice. And at the beginning, we would go down there to see if someone had broken into our basement, and we never saw anyone. It always seemed to happen around 9:30 p.m. where we would start hearing noises. Something would hit the floor with so much force that you could literally feel the vibration on the ground with our feet. We've had things fall in our kitchen, or we would hear something get moved in the kitchen and go in there, and all the stuff that we heard fall would be on the floor that fell from above our oven onto the ground. We would hear things shift and move in the kitchen, go in there and see that nothing has been moved. We've had friends and family stay the night with us and experience similar noises like chairs being moved in the kitchen, like literally picked up and slammed down. What was weird is that my fiance and I did not hear it, but his father did. He thought one of us was coming into the kitchen to the living room and he waited and nobody came out. We've had tapping on our son's doors when we were standing right by the door. My fiance was home a lot during the night because I worked the graveyard shift at the post office and he would be sleeping out in the living room when I was at work. And he would be sleeping and in the dream, this dark, furry figure with odd-looking feet, horns, and sharp teeth with all black eyes would be attacking me in the dream. And as soon as he goes to try to save me, it would turn on him. And just as it's about to kill him, he wakes up and then would start hearing banging coming from the basement. My oldest at the time was about 5, and we did not tell him any of the stuff that was happening. And one day at breakfast with my parents and my grandma, he was telling them about this brown, furry figure with horns and sharp teeth and all black eyes that he was seeing in his dream. He said that he wanted my son to invite him in the house so it could kill me because it does not like women. What? Also, his dreams always took place in the basement with this thing. When I was young, I was baptized and my fiance and kids are not baptized, so I always wondered if it did not like me because of that. We have also heard growling coming from our kitchen, from the basement, and from our bedroom in the darkest part of our room. We've also heard it breathing and walking up on us. Wait, but if your son is having dreams about it wanting to be invited in the house, then it's not in the house yet, but it is in the house because it's doing stuff. I'm confused about that part. Every time we would shine a light, we would not see a thing. One night, it was so bad that we actually got up and went to sleep in the living room for the remainder of the night. I do have a video and pictures with footprints that this thing made down in the basement and a video of something knocking on our front door at 3 a.m. and our front door has glass so you can see out the door and nobody's coming and knocking on our door at 3 a.m. And it did it several times. When I was at work, I was on the phone with my fiance and I can hear the knocking over the phone. I've heard the banging over the phone and I've had him hang up, record the video, and it always responded intelligently. We have cats as well, and if they were inside, they would be looking where the noises were coming from. So our parents' neighbor goes to church and they have their pastor come over and they did a prayer session for us and my fiance. I opened my eyes at one point and I could see his hands shaking. He said that after the prayer was over, he felt angry because of the praying, and the pastor said that he was feeling what it was feeling, and the thing was very upset. When we took the pastor to the basement, he felt what we've always felt, just that there's someone watching us. He could feel that something was down there, and ever since we had the prayer session thing done, it still will make noises and banging on the floor has gotten less, but the dreams have officially stopped for both my fiance and my son. Also, the owners of the house know there is something in the house/basement. They have experienced it as well. Oh, one more quick note. We have neighbors that are divided by a driveway, and they have also heard noises coming from our basement and once gave us sage to burn. And to this day, I have not been able to find that bundle of sage, no matter where I looked. If my kids have ever gotten a hold of it, I would have found pieces of it everywhere. To this day, we still have not seen it. Hold on, there are pictures. Okay, so these are pictures of the footprints. First of all, what is, like, why is it making footprints? Like, what is down here that it's making footprints with? Hold on, let's go to the next picture. There's a footprint, but what is that white stuff? Footprints? Just like sand or something? More footprints. It's an interesting picture, by the way, of like a thing with head separated from its body, but there's another footprint. Oh my God. Oh, what is this stuff that's there? Hold on, and there's a video. Let's watch. Oh my God, that was loud. I was like sitting here. I don't know if you saw my face. I'm sitting here watching going, am I going to hear anything? Maybe it's too low. Oh my God, that was loud. Yo, that's so creepy. Something is definitely in there and it wants to get you. And I don't like that, but I'm glad that the praying worked. Like, keep on top of that and maybe look for another place. Thank you so much for sharing. This was a good one. This one is called Other Worlds. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. Thank you for reading my story. I just want to say that what a great storyteller you are. Very listenable. Thank you. And it's wonderful how you have created a safe space for all of us to listen and share the weird, wonderful, and bizarre experiences of your contributors. Yes, yes. I love this community. Now, this may be a little different than your usual stories, but to preface the main story, which I will warn you is extremely disturbing, and for me was considerably traumatic, I'd first like to invite you into a world I'm sure I'm not the only one to experience, but I feel little is heard about it. But something has been pressing on me to share this, as I've been writing this to you for months in my head. It's causing me to write it before I try to sleep, and until I share it, I know my sleep will continue to be disrupted. This was happening even before the disturbing tale I'm going to share. I think it happened to force me into action to share these other worlds. As I write this, I wonder if I'll come across as a complete nutter. Probably not. We believe you. Ever since I was a little girl, which was many moons ago, whenever I was scared, I'd leave my body. The earliest I remember this was starting from 3 years old. I would stare, eyes wide open, as if I was intently listening, but my consciousness could be anywhere, from somewhere else inside the room to other completely different places, until something drew me back. This protected me from certain experiences. Are you saying that you were like astral projecting? As I grew older, it was very much a habit. The best way of describing this is tuning into different frequencies, and with this, for many years, I was also a practicing astrologer, psychic, and past life regressionist. In fact, when I would take people through regression, I would often see what they saw. It was a very magical and privileged experience. With regards to my astral experiences, let me clarify a few things. There are many types of different dreaming states. There is the state where it's a collage of all the little things, visions, conversations, things you hear or see that make up a mishmash that your subconscious sifts through while you sleep. There are memory dreams from your present life. There are prophetic dreams, which are the first ones to tune into a different frequency. I've had many of these. But there were ones where your consciousness leaves your body and can travel in the astral realm. These are many from your energy traveling around your own planet and to the cosmos, other dimensions, other alternate realities of different lives that you live simultaneously. Equally, you can visit other dimensions and experience someone or something's existence. There's a slipstream where you can slide back and forward through time, sometimes through your own timeline, sometimes in other parallel versions of you. For the most part, I'm always excited to sleep. It's given me so many stories. I have over 150, and I'm working with a ghostwriter to bring one of them to life. It's an amazing experience. Sometimes I visit a younger version of myself in the parallel world where I'm married with a little daughter. I've never had children. In another, I'm living my best life off-grid in nature and what would be my dream cottage living off the land. Some dimensions I experience being a different being that is more electrical, but tall, almost translucent, with a violet glow. They are very evolved and communicate telepathically. So many I don't have time to describe here, but these are my favorite places to visit. There are also places that I regularly visit that are vivid in my mind, and I've spent hundreds of hours poring over Google Earth trying to see if they are here on this planet in my Earth, but I can't locate them anywhere. I know there are different worlds within our own, and in their frequencies, it's as solid and real as our own. Perception is everything. However, the other night I slipped into a parallel version of myself, and it was so disturbing and traumatic. I/she was walking with a couple that were supposedly friends, but they disappeared in a crowd ahead of her, and in moments, something zapped her. Think of Quantum Leap, except it's a version of yourself. Everything was dark for a while. She was unconscious, but every now and again, her eyes would flicker, and I caught glimpses. But as she felt drugged, my energy was thrown off too. I had never experienced anything like it before. When I caught a glimpse of what was happening to her at one point, my energy left her and the trauma caused me to bolt, but I didn't return to my own body in the present like I would usually do after my explorations. Then as she came to, I was drawn back in. She was woozy and in a lot of pain. I could feel her pain. It was excruciating and in a particular part of my body. A woman nursed her. She wasn't in a hospital. She was in what this woman called a safe hole, somewhere she couldn't be located. There was no protection for female victims. They had to stay hidden. She asked whether the worst had happened to her, but the woman explained it was worse than what she would have thought as of the worst. Then I experienced some flashes of her memories. Again, I hadn't experienced that either. I won't go into graphic detail, but think of the worst and then what you could never imagine. Something else that was very strange, though, was for a brief moment while she was awake but not cognitive, I was, and appeared to have the ability to move within her body. I had located a mobile phone that she must have had with her. I dialed the last number, and without speaking, some man had assumed I was someone else, and he thought he was talking to someone called Rayon. When he received no reply, he hung up. I could sense her coming back to consciousness and tried to write by scratching with my/her nail as there was nothing to write with, but I vaguely scratched Ray before her consciousness took over. With her conscious and me just being technically a voyeur, she was unaware of me. There was no way I could communicate with her, and then I was pulled back into my body. What was awful on top of this, I could feel the specific pain that she experienced that doubled me up for what felt like ages, but was probably less than a minute, and then it disappeared. But a week later, it is all still with me. For the most part, my travels have been wondrous, but this one was horrific and frustrating because I think I could have helped identify the perpetrators. But I also think in that reality, it seems there is no protection for women and possibly no recourse or justice. Thankfully, this is an extremely rare situation, and blissfully, I have since been to the flying place, which is utterly amazing and has helped dissolve some of the contact with that reality. Lots of light. This was so interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. This one is called Fish, Sticks, and Pictures. I'm intrigued. Hi, Auntie. Hi. I have no idea how long this will be because I have a lot of experience, but my mom's story is more compelling because she's got more proof and was actually featured on a bio channel TV show called My Ghost Stories. I'll tell you mine first. When I was little, around 5, my great aunt and grandma rented a house out in the woods. They started living there after the husband of the owner died, and we would visit the house periodically. I don't remember much, but my mom, siblings, and grandma all had stories about the things I would say while there. What I do remember was being excited to be there. One time we were in the kitchen, and I looked outside. I remember the big mossy rocks that sat just outside the door near the patio. I saw a man just sitting on one of the rocks. He was always wearing white, and I asked if I could go outside and play with him. I was also told that late one night after watching TV with my grandma, we headed upstairs to get ready for bed, and the door to the bedroom at the top of the stairs was open and the bed was visible. And I asked my grandma who was sitting on the bed. She turned around and we went back downstairs to watch more TV. There was another time my great aunt went to sit down in her recliner and I quickly told her not to sit there because that's where George was sitting. Later in life, when I asked my mom about it, she told me that the wife/owner told my aunt to leave a specific cuckoo clock on the wall because it was her husband's favorite. And when other things are put in its place, he gets upset. My aunt didn't believe her, and when the picture she put up flew off the wall, she put the clock back and had no other issues. I never got any bad feelings from him, and he seemed quite gentle. I can't remember when or where this conversation took place either, but I do remember my mom, sister, and brother all talking about it while my older brother was being dismissive and saying that it's all made up and ghosts aren't real. Immediately after he said that, the tray of fish sticks he had set on the counter flipped over, dumping all of them onto the floor. Okay, there's the fish sticks part. The remainder of my childhood was uneventful, but in 2011, I took a photograph that made my blood run cold, giving me an immediate sense of panic. That year for my birthday, I was gifted a DSLR camera because I was taking photography as an elective in high school. I was out and about hanging out with friends on December 21st, which happened to be the winter solstice that year. I had no direction to what I was shooting that day, but when I went to download and edit the photos, I got to the aforementioned photo, which they have, by the way, we will show you. It's a picture of me and my camera pointed at the side mirror of the car I was riding in. I was with my boyfriend at the time, one of our friends. We were stopped at a four-way intersection in the downtown area when I took the picture. My ex was in the driver's seat, I was in the passenger seat, and our friend was in the back passenger seat directly behind me. This is important when looking at the picture itself. Directly over my shoulder, sitting in the back seat of the driver's side of the car, was another person. It looked like this person's face was positioned down and pulling a piece of hair away from their face. You can see the hand, the hair on the forehead. If you look closely enough, it looks like the face drops off behind my shoulder. I immediately texted the friend we had been hanging out with that day, and he nonchalantly goes, "Oh yeah, that's the spirit that's been following me since Halloween." What? Yeah, we were playing with a Ouija board, and he's been following me ever since. Okay, so here is the first picture that she took. The second one is a zoomed in portion, but you can see right here. Look, it's literally a person touching their hair. Person, hand, touching their hair. Wait till you see the zoomed in picture. Hold on one second. This is the zoomed in part. You can see even better the person touching. To me, it kind of looks like this person is wearing a mask, by the way, which is really weird, or maybe I'm just imagining that part. Person touching their hair, right? Like right here. And here is the face that someone pointed out you could see above the person. Like, what is going on in these pictures? I love when we have picture evidence of stuff. This is so cool. Let me know what you guys think of these pictures, and thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called Come Play. I already don't like it. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I absolutely love your page. I binge watch all your glitches and have finally decided to share some of my experiences. I have so many, but I'll start with this one. So this happened around 2004 to 2005. My oldest son was only about 1, and we had just moved into our first house, just me and him. When I viewed the house, for some reason, I was so drawn to it. I just had to live there. Boy, was that a mistake. Uh-oh. It started with a friend of mine going into the house one day to use the bathroom. I stayed in the car with the kids. Her daughter was a little younger than my son. When she came back out, she was very pale and looked extremely shook up. She was like, "There are spirits in your house." I laughed at her because at the time I didn't believe in any of the paranormal things. She then told me that she heard a man and a little girl talking outside my bathroom door. Again, I just laughed and brushed her off as crazy. Then I started hearing and seeing things. My son was terrified of the man in the basement, and all of a sudden had an imaginary friend named Nina. He would say the craziest stuff, like out of nowhere, he'd start screaming, "You're not my daddy," over and over to no one. When I asked who he was talking to, he would say the man in the basement. We would hear screaming down there and dogs barking. We were literally the only ones who lived there. Get out of the house! One of the creepier things that happened there was my same friend who I laughed at decided to bring a Ouija board over so we could talk to whatever was in my house. I was starting to believe there was definitely something going on, but still thought it was BS, and I played anyway. I don't remember exactly what was said on the board, but what I do remember was it kept spelling out closet and come play. Finally, I got up and opened the closet. Oh my God, you are a brave soul. Now remember, we just moved there, so everything was still pretty much boxed up, especially in the closet. Inside the closet, right on top of the first box, was a toy bowling pin that said, "Come play." I started freaking out so bad. I was crying. We did not own any toy bowling sets to have a toy bowling pin. So where did it come from? Not to mention, I had just been in that closet earlier putting some of the boxes in there to get them out of the way. I made her take that board immediately out of my house. I was so scared I had my son sleep with me in my bed and put my grandmother's cross in the bed with us. I do not blame you, friend. So many other things happened in that house. Let me know if you want more. I did eventually find out that years before we moved, there was a house fire that killed a father and a daughter. But I didn't look that up until I saw my son's imaginary friend standing next to my bed. That's a whole crazy story by itself. Thank you so much for reading and giving us a place to validate our experiences. Love you. Keep glitching. I feel like there was so much more to this story that I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear so many more details, but that's just crazy in general. And that makes a lot of sense. The father and the daughter, but the daughter seems to be like kind of cool. Doesn't seem scary because your son is like really scared of the man in the basement. Are you still living there? What else happened? Are you okay? I have so many questions, but this was a good story. The come play. Oh my God, that would have been so scary. Thank you so much for sharing. That concludes our creepy compilation for today, but if you want to keep it going right now, you can check out this video or this playlist.